What's up? Welcome back to Nowstalgia Pod, your weekly look at what's going on in pop culture. My name is Pat Sheehan. I'm here with my co-host Dave Martin. Dave, happy March, dude.
Yo, dog, that madness, it's here.
Uh, you know, I was filling out my Kanye bracket, which we're going to be talking about in a second, and my real bracket, and I was like, we did the Marvel superhero bracket 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
That
I
was
forgot
a
about that.
that was a fun one. Maybe we'll have to down the line come up with something like that that can be
Yeah.
interactive again. But before we jump in, just want to say thank you to everybody that supported the podcast. Please subscribe, download on iTunes or wherever else you enjoy your podcasts. Leave us a rating and review on iTunes if possible. Any feedback is helpful, and follow the show at Nowstalgia on Twitter, at Nowstalgia Pod on Twitter. So yeah, last night this dude K. Harrington tweeted out how he had made this bracket called the Kanye Madness bracket, and he took 64 Kanye songs, seeded them, put them into regions, and then said, "All right, Twitter, vote on this." I know that you downloaded the bracket, you tweeted out your picks. I downloaded and wrote mine out, but I didn't tweet it out yet. What did you find with this bracket? Like, what was your first reaction to it?
Well, yeah. So shout out. What's this guy's name again? Harrington.
Yeah, K. Harrington is his Twitter handle. I think his name is Chris.
Yeah. So shout out. I mean, this was definitely obviously like he color coded the bracket with the cover color codes. There's the Donda region names. He made a Twitter moment, so he definitely put a lot of work into this, and kudos to that.
This is stop you real quick. I said it wrong. It's at C. Harrison. His first name is Carrington. So it's Carrington Harrison, C. Harrison on Twitter.
Shout out C. Yeah, so I think more or less he got the best 64 songs. More or less. I don't think the new workout plan is a top 64 song personally. I know some people like that, but more or less you got the right mix here. I mean, what songs?
I agree with you. I don't think the new workout plan is one of his best 64 songs, but it was a single, so I guess I can understand that. I kind of missed the question that you asked there at the end, but just to kind of give you my reaction to it, I thought that this was a great idea. I also knew immediately my first reaction was going to be, I'm not going to agree with most of the seating. And I was correct. I fucking hate the seating on this. But of course, because it's kind of based off of people's personal opinion on a lot of these songs. I think the thing I noticed filling out my bracket was I leaned very heavily towards 2 or 3 albums in particular: Graduation, College Dropout, and The Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. With I think the breakdown went 6 Dark Twisted Fantasy songs in my Sweet 16. So but I saw you had what, 3 of your final 4 or something like that were
2 of my final 4, 4 of my Elite 8 are Dark Twisted Fantasy songs. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, to your point about the seeding, I mean, just there's some tough first round matchups. Flashing Lights as a 3 versus Famous as a 14. I thought that was a little unfair. Blood on the Leaves is a 13 versus Runaway. That's tough luck loss for Blood on the Leaves. Diamonds from Sierra Leone versus Dark Fantasy. First, I think Diamonds from Sierra Leone way too high as a 4, and Dark Fantasy, one of my favorite Kanye songs, is definitely not a 13.
No.
If we're talking actually, critically, obviously it's an intro song. It's not like a super well known. It's not a single or anything. And then also Stronger is a 4 versus Black Skinhead is a 13. Just because it's a Yeezus song, it should not be a 13. And also Gold Digger versus Gotta Have It. I'm a big Gotta Have It fan, but that was a tough one.
Yeah, actually, probably my biggest Cinderella of this tournament in my bracket was Celebration, which was a 14 seed, and I actually had it beat Good Life and then Roses. I had Roses over Blame Game as well.
Fuck Blame Game. Why is that so high?
Yeah, I don't know. And also something like I know you talked about Flashing Lights and Famous. Like, I feel like Famous very easily could have been switched with Blame Game or even Roses or something like that, and it would have had a much more representative picture of Kanye's actual work. But
right,
I don't know. Did any song surprise you how deep they made it into your tournament?
Yeah, I mean, well, Dark Fantasy
Right.
is in my final two. So
Damn. It made it down to my Elite Eight and then lost to Paris.
right. Yeah, I have it beating Gorgeous. And then I have it beating Jesus Walks. But then I have Can't Tell Me Nothing as the champ, because I think that's the best Kanye song.
I had Runaway. And I think I'm a little biased on that.
Tough battle.
Yeah, I had Power versus Runaway in my final two. Final four was Can't Tell Me Nothing, Runaway, Power, and Paris. Yeah, you know, Runaway, after seeing it live at MSG on the Yeezus tour, I feel like just sticks out in my mind as such like a emotional reaction, because he like came out and like just would press one key and like run away, and the whole crowd like went crazy. He did that for like at least 3 or 4 minutes, and like every time like the anticipation built. So I feel like I'm a little biased towards that song, but it is, I think, probably one of the most self-aware and best songs Kanye's actually made in terms of just like the meaning and composition of it.
Sure.
But definitely, I was also surprised at the Watch the Throne songs on here did pretty well for me. Otis and in Paris had pretty good runs on my bracket. I feel like I don't give that album enough love.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. Gotta have it, Otis, Paris. Yeah, No Church in the Wild's on here, so it's Murder Excellence. I saw Bomani Jones. His comment on this was that the fact that Murder Excellence is a 16 says a lot about this guy's taste versus mine. So that was a funny comment.
Yeah.
I mean, that kind of speaks to Kanye. He has so much music out, some music that there's so much variety that you'll see so many different brackets. I mean, brackets tweeted from this. I mean, I saw Diamond Sierra Leone ship winning. Like you see, that's what's great about his music. Through the Wire, a song I'm not super high on, but I know some people absolutely adore. You know, so many picks.
Yeah, there's a lot of really good ones. If you want to follow along, again, his name is C. Harrison on Twitter. He's running Twitter polls for every matchup as they go along, so you can vote and try to get your favorite songs as far along as possible. Any last thoughts on this before we move on to a lot of music?
No, we'll move on. Hashtag Kanye West Madness, right?
Yes, Kanye West Madness. Yeah, we have a lot of music we're going to talk about this week. This is probably the first really big week of music releases of the year. We're going to be talking Valee, Lil Yachty, Logic. Why don't we just get this one out of the way first, though? David Byrne, old head, dropping his first solo album in 14 years. He's done collaborations with Fatboy Slim and St. Vincent and Brian Eno.
Yep, that's the three.
Yeah, in the last couple of years. Obviously, or for those who don't know, he is the lead singer of the band Talking Heads, who rose to fame in the 80s and early 90s as a very influential rock band, dancey rock band at that. I'm interested to hear what you thought about this album, because it's quite the project for him.
Well, yeah. So as an album that I wasn't, thing, I did enjoy. He had like positive and upbeat lyrics. He said some weird stuff, but it was all like positive message. It wasn't the I'm sad, my rock trope that I'm so tired of. So I was actually like mildly surprised with how entertained I was.
Yeah, he definitely. I mean, if you've ever listened to any of the Talking Heads, they are a very unique sounding band and take a lot of risks and are very inventive in their sound, or were inventive in their sound. And he definitely takes a lot of risks on this album. I mean, ranging from like Caribbean like dance music to like pretty classic 80s rock and electronic music on this album. And yeah, it's very upbeat. Obviously, with a name like Utopia. It's his take on the political atmosphere, trying to almost attack it from like a kill him with positivity perspective. Any songs on here that you left being like, that's a really good song, or I really enjoyed that?
I paying attention to song titles. I remember there was that one line where he's like, the Pope doesn't matter to a dog or something. Yeah. And it's something about elephants right afterwards. And I was like, all right, man, I get what you're going for here.
Well, the funny thing is the next song on the album is literally called Dog's Mind, and he writes it kind of about like the limitations of a dog's perspective. So, yeah, I don't know. Some of the lyrics were pretty stupid, and I think some of the breakdowns were also just like not up to date with the modern times. But a song like "Everybody's Coming to My House" like sticks with me. It's kind of like frantic and pulsing, but also very classic, like Talking Head sound. And Every Day is a Miracle also. That's like the one that took like the island sound into it, and is very just like positive and upbeat. So I didn't hate those. Otherwise, pretty forgettable. One thing, if you are going to a festival this summer, check his show out. He's saying that this is supposed to be the most inventive on stage performance he's done since Stop Making Sense, which is a very famous documentary about Talking Heads. So give him a check out if you're at a music festival where he's headlining. I think he's not at Governor's Ball, right?
Don't recall. He's at a few though, isn't he?
Yeah, he's definitely at a few. I'm pretty sure he's doing Osheaga, which is releasing soon. So a few up north if you want to catch him. All right, I'm gonna let you choose Yachty, Logic, Valee. Which one was your favorite?
It's kind of a dumb comparison, but I guess Valee is probably my favorite.
Wow.
Good Job You Found Me. It's his debut EP for Good Music. He has he's had mixtapes that have been out the past 2 years, but it's just like basically like it's like a sample platter for anyone finding him because it's his first project on streaming. And I mean, it's a 6-track EP. It's like 15 minutes long. So it's kind of, tough to compare to Yachty or Logic's, which are definitely full-length mixtapes. But yeah, Valee, I mean, he's a Chicago rapper, but he doesn't really sound like Chicago. We talk about the Chicago sound a lot, like Vic Mensa and Chance, and how they influence people like Tokyo, who we just reviewed, SoundCloud.com Nowstalgia Pod. But Valee, he doesn't sound like that. He definitely sounds more Atlanta. But what I really liked about this EP, previously released singles that were on it and Shell, and then I Got Whatever as well, vocal cadence is a lot like Eazy-E to me, the way he just kind of goes about his raps, like the pitter patter to it. And then he mixes that with a sound that's very like post jail Gucci Mane. So that's a very good compliment. Yeah. So Eazy-E meets Gucci. And it's not like the lyrics are like anything crazy. It's just about consumerism, but just the way he goes about it. Like that one line where he's like, I got 20,000, went to Miami, went to Club Live, that shit came in. The way he like goes about the bars, I think, is great. And I'm really excited for him moving forward, because Good Music has been a label that we've obviously liked. Obviously, Kanye really started it, but Pusha T's kind of been running it more or less the past few years since he became president. But they haven't done a great job of nurturing or creating young talent. I mean, they have Designer, and we haven't heard a lot from Designer post Panda.
Travis Scott, though, is Good Music, right?
Yes, but only production. Very good beats. So, like, all these Travis hit records aren't really Good Music songs, And obviously, Good Music peaked with, Cruel Summer, back when Big Show on Kanye, Common was still there. Pusha T was actually rapping. So, I mean, that era is past. You can't really expect that anymore. They're all kind of different stages of their careers, but maybe Valee could be the start of them. Even if he isn't, I think he's definitely a unique sound. I think those 3 songs I mentioned are really, I think the vocals are cool, and I'm definitely eager for more music from him.
Yeah, when I was listening to this, it was interesting, because the first thought I had after finishing was, I think he's going to be the type of artist who will create songs that stick with you, but aren't necessarily like memorable in years to come. I think more than anything, he creates this like vibe that's just like, this is a catchy chorus, and it's just like a nice, like, or I don't even know if nice beat, but just kind of like, this is a good beat. And then like someone like Pusha T comes on and they kill it, and you're like, oh shit, who is that by? And you go back and you're like, oh, Valee. And then you listen to more of his stuff, you're like, oh, he's pretty good. But like, I think just the vibe he creates is something like, if Big Sean like came out of nowhere and like dropped a verse that was just fire, I wouldn't be surprised. So I'd be like, oh, Valee, like he sets people up for this. He's kind of like the Chris Paul. I feel like, or could be like Chris Paul of the.
Yeah, it's a good call.
I don't know, good music team.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what this new exposure and new opportunities the good provides for him bring, because I'm sure a lot of people will be paying attention and eager to work with him now. So definitely also, check that out. It's 15 minutes long, easy to listen.
Yeah, I appreciate his songs being short too. Like
he actually gave an in. So I found this dude like a month ago. I think it was like a Fader profile. EP was coming, but then he was like rumored to be with Good. Him and Pusha T had been meeting. Then he actually signed, and then obviously this like Sample Platter EP comes out. But he actually said that most of his songs are like 2 minutes and change, because every time he was recording back in the day, he couldn't go more than 2 minutes before one of his boys would start talking or interrupting, get distracted. Inadvertently, he creates music to the current lack of attention span for young people that listen to rap, you know? So I thought that was kind of a funny reasoning.
It's actually really interesting to think about, like, if music is actually going to move more towards that. All right, so moving on from Valee, though, what about your guy Logic here? Because I thought you were going to pick Logic as your favorite project of the weekend. Bobby Tarrantino too. For what this is formally a mixtape, like it really matters, but
correct, yeah, definitely a mixtape and critical eye. But all mixtape these days are on SoundCloud and usually also on streaming, so they get paid for them now. So mixtapes definitely mean something different than they used to. But yeah, it's a mixtape.
This opens with a Rick and Morty back and forth, which, first of all, just hilarious that he's using Rick and Morty on a Logic album to introduce the album. But they have a discussion about is this mixtape Logic or is this album Logic? And you texted me saying, I've had this discussion with so many people before. Break it down for us.
Yeah, well, a lot of what I'm about to say about Bobby Tarrantino 2 relates to my general distaste for Logic's horde of fans he's acquired the past few years. And a lot of it is because they just like eat up. I mean, they're just normal stans, normal young fans. They eat up everything, but it's like mixtape Logic versus normal Logic. And it's like mixtape Logic since he got big. So these last two mixtapes, Bobby Tarrantino and this new one too. Tarantino came out in 2016. Bobby Tarrantino 2 came out last Friday, right? These are Logic, a compilation of Logic songs that are not part of a concept album. All his albums definitely have a focus, whether they work or not. They're all, intended, right? These mixtape, they're just throwaway songs, right? But much like Lil Boat 2, which we'll get to, but Bobby Tarrantino 2, it's like, I was like, oh yeah, I'm happy there's Logic just making bangers and party music. And my problem with mixtape Logic is just not as good as other non-lyrical rappers. When Logic isn't being lyrical, it's just only okay. Like, I don't need to listen to Logic do his imitation of trap. I'll just listen to actual good trap, But like the whole mixtape thing, especially because like his last mixtape before his debut album, Young Sinatra, Welcome to Forever from 2013, he was actually like fucking spitting on that, and he's just changed a lot since then. It's kind of disappointing, but he's also got really famous and got a lot of money, so I'm not hating or anything. But yeah, the mixtape versus album Logic thing is just, it's a conversation I always have just because I try and gauge like what kind of Logic fan you are, whether like how long, not how long you've been a fan, but like how do you think about his music, So it's that skit I thought was actually a very self-aware way to talk about it, because it made me laugh.
Yeah, I wrote in my notes that after I heard that skit that his Madden rating would have been 99 on self-awareness, because he obviously recognizes the conversation around his work. I actually really enjoyed this, though. I mean, I don't know. I can't remember exactly what my take was on the last Logic album, but I think I was very kind of like meh on it. This I left in, it just felt like a lighter
well-intentioned.
Listen. Yeah, exactly. It just felt like a lighter listen, and I enjoyed it more. Did you enjoy this more, or being more of a Logic stan than me? Were you kind of disappointed?
Oh no, so I think this is easily better than everybody. Everybody, which you can check our review. We broke it out on YouTube, SoundCloud Contest Nostalgia Pod. Basically, our sum up was that it was well intentioned, but doesn't really land. A lot of weird skits with Ansel Elgort and Neil deGrasse Tyson. A lot of weird interlude stuff like that. And when he does stuff on that album that he does in this mixtape, when he sings, it's bad. I think the song with Marshmello, Every Day, is fucking trash.
Yeah, that shit was whack.
But when he, makes other songs, I think Overnight's pretty good. I think, was it State of Emergency? I mean, 2 Chainz has been batting 1,000 for like 3 years now. So that song is awesome. 44 More, definitely kind of like DNA inspired by Kendrick, but I like that. I think that's a really solid song and good bars there. Boom Trap Protocol is pretty solid. Indica Badu is pretty solid. Yuck, he had some great Joyner Lucas diss bars there, which was awesome because fuck Joyner Lucas, such a fucking crybaby about all of his Logic hates. It's super off base. But yeah, it's kind of like because it's a mixtape, you just pick songs and you throw the other ones away. So I like it. It's weird because like it has less. It's setting a lower bar for itself as a project, but at least it's meeting that bar. Whereas everybody pales, in comparison because it just was totally failing to meet said bar. So yeah, I think it's solid for a mixtape. I mean that's what he's going out to do. He's not trying to make a crazy body of work or anything, but yeah, it's solid.
Yeah, and I actually think the strongest thing about the whole album is just that the production and the beats are great on this, and that's a staple for Logic pretty much. Even his worst projects seem to have really good beats. But yeah, I think the songs that you picked out, especially like Yuck and State of Emergency, seem to be two that stand out to me, and Overnight as well. Although the Good Person stuff's a little bit like, where is this coming from? But I mean, that's neither here nor there, I guess.
Right. And the other thing is like Logic definitely has his fair share of haters. I mean, the whole biracial thing is a meme that's been killed to death. But if you really want to actually critique Logic correctly, what you would bring up is that he often bites flows and doesn't really have his own. And we mentioned in the review last year, but this has been a conduit thing. He's definitely influenced by Drake, Kendrick, and J. Cole. That's nothing new. But on Wizard of Oz, on Bobby Tarrantino 2, about 50 seconds into the song, he does a straight Travis Scott ripoff, even to the yeah ad lib with the moody atmospheric trap beat. I mean, he's just fucking total ripping off Goosebumps. And it's like, Logic, you're really talented. Stop fucking doing this because you can't get away with it, nor do you need to do it in the first place. And it's just like, I just don't understand. Like all of his dumb fans, the fans I don't like, are like, oh, I didn't know Logic couldn't use auto-tune. It's like, it's not that he used auto-tune. It's not that he made trap. It's that he literally copycatted Travis Scott to the fucking ad-lib.
Right.
It's different. It's just disappointing that he does that because he doesn't need to do that.
Yeah, I know he talks about like the biracial stuff and just kind of like his background on his last album, but I think in some respect, probably what he's dealing with personally, it comes out in his work that he's still finding his identity and kind of like what it means to be him. And I think he's getting there slowly. The more and more he does stuff and explores, he'll find his lane. So I'm not too worried about Logic. Someone I'm a little bit put off by though is your guy Lil Yachty, king of the teens. Man, this album was a tough listen for me. How did you feel about it? No, how did you feel about Lil Boat 2 though?
Yeah, so it's this you can't I couldn't think about this in a vacuum. I have to think about it when I think about the rest of his music. Okay. And Teenage Emotions, his debut album that we talked about last year, was not good at all. Very singy.
Yep.
But also just quite poor. There just wasn't a lot there. And Yachty actually talked about that leading up to this album, and he was basically saying that it's a weird comparison, but in the principle makes sense. He was like, what if Kanye released 808s as his second album? It's just such a tonal shift that it just throws your fans off, right? And I actually think that kind of makes sense where he went from the debut Lil Boat project where One Night in Minnesota, his first hits are from. Then he released Teenage Emotion, which is so out there, so different, right? And I get that. Then he released Lil Boat 2, where he just kind of doubles down on the rapping, right? And it's basically straight trap. He really is buying into his quality contributes his Migos influence, right?
Right.
And I think it's songs on there, but it's still missing earworm talent that Yachty is good at. And he just doesn't do that on this. He's just making basic trap. And we don't want Yachty to do that because that's not why we listen to Yachty. Broccoli is not one of those songs. Neither is I Spy or his first hits, I mean, Lil Boat had deep cuts. Lil Boat 2, I mean, I think NBA Youngboat with NBA Youngboy, I think that song's actually a banger. But I mean, overall, There's some good features on here, some good moments from Yachty, but it's just not quite what we need him to do. It was almost like he overly course corrected, you know?
Yeah.
So that's my take on it.
Yeah, the whole thing to me basically so I was listening to this in the car as I was driving somewhere, and usually like in the cars where I just appreciate the sound of an album and I'm like bumping around. Some of the songs got me moving a little bit, like my shoulders going up and down, my head bobbing with the beat, but most of all, every time I tuned into the lyrics, it basically just like, oh, I'm rich and you're a broke boy and that's why you suck and I'm awesome. And I was like, if every single song is like that on an album, I can't. And like, I get he's 20, and I think he probably doesn't have a ton to say right now, because he hasn't had a lot of life experience. But damn, like I guess I was hoping for something a little bit more inventive, and like you said, he pretty much went straight trap, and it's disappointing to me.
Yeah, he's definitely still finding what he needs to do. It's got to be definitely not Teenage Emotions. That was too far.
No,
but then going all the way to where we are now with Lil Boat 2 is too far. Something middle. I think he can get there. And Yachty, I'm not saying it's not a good mind. It's Ozan. But I think heck, he made this tonal shift. He's got a lot of support. And he's still got a lot of fans. This is going to do better numbers than Teenage Emotions, which is a good sign. Because Teenage Emotions, fucking Uzi and X and A Boogie, they like doubled his sales with their first album. So Yachty was in a kind of a rough spot where he was more famous than he was commercially viable musically. But I think that's changed a little bit. So now he just needs to kind of course correct a little bit more with his music. But yeah, a Lil Boat 2 in the meantime.
I think, and check out our playlist. The only song from this that maybe would make it would be the one with what was his name? NBA. Yeah. Go ahead.
NBA Youngboy within the NBA was like, nah, you can't call yourself that. So he's now he's Youngboy Never Broke Again. He was probably gonna. He guys got arrested making that cover.
So I think either that song or the one or TWM would be the only two songs from this album that will probably make our nostalgia best of list. TWM is probably the strongest Yachty performance just lyrically on this, and just flow in general. But right. Speaking of people that have been making albums that got a lot of recognition, your boy Childish Gambino announced he's going on a pretty short US tour, and we tried to get tickets and we were unsuccessful. But at least we have Atlanta to get our Donald Glover fill right now. We didn't talk about the premiere last week because we were previewing the Oscars. Alligator Man dropped last or 2 Thursdays ago now. Last Thursday, I can't remember what was the name of this episode. Do you remember?
Keep going. I'll find it.
But anyways, Atlanta season 2 is back, and gotta be honest, Alligator Man was fucking hilarious. And the second episode, I felt like wasn't as strong, but I felt like it was a lot of like setting things up. Right. And title. Gotcha. So Atlanta season 2, I'm just glad it's back. What was your take on the first 2 episodes? Were you surprised by anything that you saw?
Didn't expect to see Cat Williams in Alligator Man. It was pretty good. He was kind of self. He had a lot of legal issues. That was fucking hilarious. Yep. It's just great to be back because that world is so enriched. All the things we always said about season 1, but it's true. Right off the bat, I didn't even catch this at first, but the whole thing with Darius, he's like an alt-right Johnny Appleseed.
Yeah,
they're just riffing on the Florida Man news headline. It's fucking genius.
So fucking smart, dude. So fucking smart. That was fucking great. I also just like the way that this show sets up moments in this are fantastic. Like the thing with the alligator, the whole like running joke, where they're like, "That's the Alligator Man." And they're like, "What are you talking about?" It's like, "You got an alligator."
You have an alligator?
Yeah. But then he asked, are you friendly with it? And he's like, no. Like, of course not. You know, like, why would anyone be friendly with an alligator? Can anyone even be? It's just so funny. And then that moment where you finally see the alligator after Cat Williams gives, like, I think you probably said it, but gives his best performance I can remember in a long time. That alligator walking out with that song in the background, I was just like, damn, this show is masterful at times. Also, the thing we're not even talking about is probably the most memorable scene is the opening from Alligator Man. That kind of sets up the theme of the season. Can you talk a little bit about Robin's season?
Well, yeah, I mean, so Robin's season is this year in Atlanta. So, but around Christmas time, where there's more robberies, more crime like that, because people got to eat, people got to buy them gifts and shit. That's the concept, anyway. But then you see these two dudes play fun and get some food. They're blasting K's though and rob fast food. Like that was a great scene.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a phenomenal scene, and it seems to be the running through line for the season, because in the second episode, it begins with Paperboy being held up by his drug dealer, which I thought was also a really funny scene. The way the drug dealer was just like, "Yo, I'm gonna pay you back, man. I'm really sorry about this. Like,
sorry, I gotta do this, man."
Yeah. Oh, that was great. It seems like Atlanta is moving more in a traditional TV show direction. I mean, the first season was so inventive, from like the talk show to just the way that it was almost Seinfeld-esque in the lack of plot. How do you feel about this moving in a more maybe traditional TV show direction?
Right. So we've only seen 2 episodes, but from the advanced reviews from the critics, they say that it's more serialized, which kind of makes sense. They started laying the groundwork down for advancing Alfred's career in episode 2, but it's also getting weirder. But I think the more serialization is probably good, just because something people that can latch on to. Like you said, season 1 episodes that were amazing, but it also not a whole lot happens, Right. And I think we might be getting back to that original pitch or original selling point, Twin Peaks with rappers. And I think that's definitely what episode 2. All the different ways they riffed on the music industry in that episode, I thought was excellent. But it also was advanced, which is great.
Yeah, the whole, I guess it wasn't Spotify, but wherever that
right.
music thing was hilarious, especially when they were asking Paperboy to do the different takes for that playlist. That's probably my favorite moment. I'm not sure how I feel about the new friend introduced into the group. I can't remember what his
Tracy.
name is. Tracy, yeah. I'm still like warming up and feeling him out. Him going to the interview though was pretty funny.
Yeah, them waves.
yeah, for real. But I don't know how if wearing your do-rag in the waiting room before you do this interview is a great idea. Also, the whole thing with Earn and the gift cards felt a little out of place.
Come on, Earn, you've held money on the show. Don't do the gift card scam, man. Come on.
Right. Or at least do like half of your money, not all of it.
Sure. Put $100 on. Put $500 on. I don't know. Come on, dog. Like you're a Princeton dropout. You're smarter than that.
But I do give them credit for the callback to the dogs from the first season.
Yeah, episode 3. That was awesome.
Definitely. Like getting payoffs like that is what makes shows like this so great. Is it ties a lot of this stuff together. Any expectations for the season moving forward, or anything that you're hoping to see? Or
yeah, I'm interested to see what happens with Alfred, just because multiple times in episode 2 you could just see how annoyed he was with his fame. Whether it was seeing someone do an acoustic cover of a song, take an unwanted picture with him, put him in a text conversation, just all this stuff that he just doesn't want. But he also isn't making much money, if any, off his career. So I'm just really curious to see where they go with that, because Brian Tyree Henry is probably the best actor on the show. I think he's definitely the most trained one. And then, I mean, Darius is a wild card. So anything. But yeah. Oh, and we still haven't seen fucking Van. Where's Zazie Beetz?
I'm actually interested to see like how Robin season ties in with the crew, especially obviously Earn is broke after he spent all of his money on that shit, and I wonder if that's where it's kind of leading up to, is him like becoming part of this in some way, or them planning some of this because they're so broke. I mean, he has a daughter. He doesn't have a place to live at this point. I'm also actually just really interested to see how much more creative Hiro Murai can be in his directing and cinematography. I mean, that, like we talked about, that opening scene to the season was so wonderfully done and beautifully shot. It was kind of like Heat in Atlanta, like the movie Heat.
Mm-hmm.
So overall, I'm there's a lot to look forward to, and Atlanta remains one of the best shows on TV right now. Why don't we talk about Red Sparrow? Because a lot of movies came out that we've wanted to see, and I got around to seeing 2 of them. I think you saw like 3 or 4 this past weekend, but Red Sparrow was one that we both made it to.
Yep.
So our guy Frankie Lawrence directed this movie. I mean, it's something. It's got a Rotten Tomatoes score of 48 and an audience score of 57 on Rotten Tomatoes. I think that's about right, honestly. This is it's a long movie. First of all, it felt very long, and it's probably Jennifer Lawrence's best performance since Silver Linings Playbook, maybe. But overall, the movie just didn't hit any of the real marks for me, and I left kind of feeling confused and just kind of like, what the hell just happened?
That's my way about it. Yep. Like Blonde, where this confusing nature made the length of the movie isn't justified. It's almost 2.5 hours long and young. Also, I think for Lawrence, it's fine. But yeah, I mean, Jennifer Lawrence doing a more engaged, I think, is kind of those are just been misused the past few years. So I think this is hopefully a good step in the right direction for making better choices. And yeah, I think the movie's fine, but yeah, it's too long. There's definitely some issues with. I think Frankie Lawrence doesn't do a whole lot with the direction, but it could have been better.
Yeah, I agree. And one of the things that really made this movie pretty off-putting to me at points was just how brutal it was. Sexual violence, but also some of the torture scenes were just like the one near the end on Joel Edgerton. I was like, I almost walked out of the theater because I was like, I can't be in here for this dude having the skin ripped off. It was a lot. Yeah, I think this movie pretty much relies on Lawrence carrying it. I think Edgerton's great, but without her, I can't imagine what this movie would have been like if they had gotten like a low level, or even like a I don't even know. Like, I was gonna say Vikander, but I feel like Vikander could have killed it, but I can't really think.
She could have.
Yeah, not really sure who else. But someone with less star power and less quality acting skills, this would have been a complete flop. And it was only 4th this past weekend. It's only grossed 31 million. I have to imagine the budget for this movie was pretty big.
Yeah, I think it was like 60. It's definitely been a disappointment. The only takeaway for me is that it was a solid turn from Jennifer. Let's see what she does next, Yeah.
Something, you mentioned the lack of direction with Red Sparrow. We also saw Thoroughbreds this weekend, and our boy Corey Finley seems to have really put his stamp on this film. Talk to me about Thoroughbreds. What did you like? What didn't you like?
A direction. I mean, I think there was this great camera work throughout Thoroughbreds, which was so nice. It just kind of felt kind of blandly shot the way the 3 Hunger Games Frankie Lawrence shot were. So Thoroughbreds was definitely had a more art housey feel. But actually, I think the comparisons going around about this are really apt. It's like a Tarrantino movie with Wes Anderson dialogue. Constantly being compared to like Heathers and The Shining and stuff. But I mean, it's a pretty simple concept. It's about two former best friends in their later high school years that reconnect and ultimately decide they're going to kill one of their stepdads. But it's really about, you know, an emotional emotion. I thought the themes in this were awesome, and it's just so witty and so much dry humor. And I think Olivia Cooke and Anya Taylor-Joy are electric on screen, and so was Anton Yelchin, R.I.P. What'd you say?
Yeah. No, I agree with pretty much everything you said. When you talk about like the way it was shot, it really makes that huge house that Lily lives in with Mark and her mom feel like a tomb almost in a way, like she's trapped in this huge space and she can never get away from that sound of the rowing machine, like this constant reminder. I also felt like the way that Finley used the score in this, which kind of ranged from like African drums to like almost like Hitchcockian strings, was really well done. Yeah. To the point where I don't know if this is necessarily like a very like thrilling movie, but I went with my girlfriend and she was like clutching my arm at points. I mean, there are definitely some tense scenes, but it like creates this feel of like this is a very like tense situation. But yeah, I think Taylor-Joy and Olivia Cooke are by far the two. Anya Taylor-Joy and Olivia Cooke are by far the two best parts of this movie. They just were phenomenal on screen. I'm so excited for them moving forward. I mean, Anya was in Split last year, and Olivia Cooke's in Ready Player One. So they've been in some big movies the last 2 years. And like you said, this is Anton Yelchin's second to last movie. I think there's one more that'll be coming out. But he was great in it too. And also Paul Sparks, our guy from House of Cards, he played a very convincing shitty person as a horrible stepdad. So
yeah, I think he's officially that guy school, you know?
Yeah.
He's a guy. He's in Waco as well.
Yep. Yeah, no, he's definitely a great that guy. Yeah, any other thoughts around Thoroughbreds? Definitely a very strong performance. I don't think it will be a best of movie at the end of the year, but definitely a memorable first performance or first directorial debut for Finley.
Yeah, I think it definitely. I mean, Finley, he was a playwright, so he was not like he was just some random guy, but we'll feel debut. I think 40 for the two leads Motel, but not a lot of people saw that. And Anya Taylor-Joy has been in a lot of stuff. I think her first really big. I mean, I feel like everyone involved wins, and I mean, Anton changed that. We didn't really see in Star Trek. It's such a damn shame that he was lost because he's obviously such a great talent. But yeah, the feeling happy I saw it.
Yeah, definitely. And you know, I think it misses it. The only like critique I have of it is I think they hinted at something deeper you know, that to this, what it means about being like a psychopath or a sociopath, or what it really means to be crazy, maybe that it kind of misses the mark.
Right.
But for all the really good things it did to kind of knock it on not, I don't know, landing a huge question like that is a small thing. So overall, really enjoyed it, and looking forward to more movies with Anya and Olivia, and more from Corey Finley as well. Does this feel like a good place to wrap up? I think we talked about a lot of different things this week. Is there anything else that you wanted to get to before we end for today?
Shout out Game Night, the comedy with Jason Bateman, and it's funny. It's not a super tropey or predictable, and it really makes you miss these. Obviously, Mean Girls and Wedding Crashers were a long time ago. Great watch.
Yeah, I'm really excited to check that one out. It's probably at the top of my list right now, but I gotta get to it before things like Isle of Dogs come out and things like that. Because that's probably the movie I'm most excited for. I think Wes Anderson's gonna kill it on that. For Dave and myself, please go to Twitter at Nowstalgia Pod, at Martin Swagger, at Sheeny World Peace. Give us your thoughts on anything we talked about. Give us your thoughts on the Lil Yachty album or on Thoroughbreds. Or even if you want to talk about Atlanta season 2, we're here for it. Hit us up, give us a rating and review on iTunes, subscribe to the pod, interact with us on the videos. We're here to talk to you about any of our takes. We appreciate you, and we'll see you next week. Peace out.